So day 149, here we go. I say day 149. I'm actually lying through my aging teeth because after having the wind knocked out my sails on day 148, I came in on day 149, which, let's be honest, at the time of this recording was yesterday. I set straight to work. By the time I remembered to do this, more people had come in to the office, and I've got thin walls between this office and others, and I just felt too embarrassed to do it in front of other people. Hold me, I'm needy. There's the truth. But I think with that comment about being embarrassed to record things like this, or think, what the hell am I doing? I definitely won't be the only person thinking that. And I've spoken to a lot of people who have toyed with the idea of either writing a blog, putting out a podcast, making certain types of video, other types of media content to share on various social platforms. And one thing that keeps coming back is just, will anybody like it? And my argument is, for doing something like this recording and other public lectures I've put out on YouTube, or various company things that I've done that I'll speak about another time, I think a lot of it is just like giving it a go. Like, this is, firstly, it's all an experiment. Like, if you don't like it, if you don't want to keep up with it, if you're not learning something from it, okay, bin it, move to the next thing. There is no such thing as a failed experiment. The result that you might dress as negative is still data, and it can equally be said to be data as much as any result that you might dress as positive. But beyond that, then the arguments about doing something like this purely for the likes or purely for building an audience, I think is a little bit misguided, or at least it's not the full picture. When you record anything like this and put it out for public consumption, the first thing it does is it maybe gives you a little bit of a different push, a trigger to put it out there, to show up, and simply to do it because you said you were going to do it. And practicing that ability to show up regularly and do something. I've spoke about that in previous iterations of this recording. But finally, and perhaps most importantly, I would say, and it's very easy to give this unsolicited advice, but here it is. You absolutely have to, first and foremost, do such things for yourself. Yes, you'll be building content that is for a specific audience, but if you're not doing it for yourself, if you're not learning something, if you're not using it as a way to express yourself or therapeutically get thoughts out of your head onto paper or onto voice, such that it's helping you move on from something, if it's not helping you hone a craft or build a skill, then there's not going to be much fuel in the tank for any long stretch of time. So it sounds selfish, but as my dear departed grandfather said, charity does begin at home. And you have to be able to look after yourself before you can build the capacity to look after others. And that probably sounds like a bit of a philosophical stretch. However, in line with this sort of content recording thing, it begins with you building the fuel, the motivation, based on what your interests are, what skills you're wanting to develop, what experiment you're running, what bigger piece of content or project you would like to finish as a result. From there, then you can worry about others coming along for the ride with you. Wow, that was a long way round. I don't know where I was going with that eventually. But yeah, maybe that's circling back to the thing I said at the beginning about being embarrassed. And that's where I'll end. There is a point where doing this whole thing, be it a recording like this one, or writing public outreach articles, doing YouTube videos, whatever, there is a hurdle of embarrassment to get over before you can do it. And then alongside that, the important point I'll leave you with, that stretches far beyond the theme of what I've just discussed, is realising what is good enough. Putting something together, cutting it as you see fit, but realising that the important thing is to do it, to get it done, to get it out there, not to make it an Oscar or BAFTA award-winning work of art. There might be times where that's called for, or you might want to go further down the line, and that would be, a very specific project. But for the vast majority of what you're trying to do, for the vast majority of the motivations I mentioned, the vast majority of the possible link to building skill, good enough is exactly what you need. Perfect doesn't exist in any form here. Look how many times I've stumbled and put es and as into what I've said in the past 6 minutes. It's rough, it's ready, but it's here. And I think as you go along any such journey of creating content, you will realise that if there are people listening or people reading or people watching, they're watching for the nuggets of gold that are in there and are more forgiving of the rough edges than you might imagine. So think about and consider, what might be the way that you would dip your toes in these waters if you're interested in putting more stuff out there beyond perhaps what you do day to day. Where might you start with the knowledge that good enough is more than good enough? That's all you need. Have a good day, folks. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, head over to the website where not only will you find the written blog versions of these podcasts, you'll find my leadership blog series, the daily thought series, and information about my book on managing the imposter phenomenon. We also have even more free resources and webinars linked to the YouTube channel. So head on over to dr-mark-reid.com. That's dr-mark with a C -reid.com. Thanks again.